And so I am proposing to the board tonight a resolution in opposition to House Bill 99. And if you will indulge me, I'll read it. Whereas the Cleveland Heights University Heights City School District Board of Education is clear in its policy and practice that the purpose of education is to facilitate the development of the potential of each and every student, and that philosophy includes our full commitment to maintaining schools that are safe, secure, and supportive. And whereas the board further remains committed to a weapon-free school environment, thank you, Dr. Lombardo, and prohibits students, employees, and community members from possessing, storing, making, or using a weapon, including a concealed weapon, in a school safety zone and any setting that is under the control and supervision of the district. And whereas, despite school safety being a #1 priority for schools nationwide, school violence has become an epidemic in this country. And whereas that violence must be addressed by Ohio's leaders in a way which actually enhances safety rather than makes schools less safe. And whereas the children and school employees of Ohio deserve to attend school without fear of death or injury, and their families deserve to send them to school without the same fear. And whereas multiple polls have shown that the majority of Americans support action to enact stricter gun laws to prevent dangerous individuals from obtaining firearms. And whereas mental health issues have been identified as an underlying cause of many preventable gun death tragedies, with enhanced social-emotional learning in schools as one of the many ways in which to address these serious mental health concerns. And whereas this Board of Education finds that enacting common-sense gun laws and mental health legislation would protect the children, teachers, staff, schools, and residents of this district. And whereas this Board of Education passed a very similar resolution over 4 years ago in March of 2018, and whereas our Cleveland Heights Teachers Union, Local 795, agrees that their members are teachers, not law enforcement officers, and whereas our Cleveland Heights Teachers Union, Local 795, agrees that arming staff makes neither staff nor students safer, but rather endangers them even more. Therefore, be it resolved that the Cleveland Heights University Heights City School District Board of Education rejects the notions inherent in House Bill 99 that weapons in schools will enhance anyone's safety, that less training and less rigorous training on firearm safety will enhance anyone's safety, that universal concealed carry will enhance anyone's safety. The CHUH City School District Board of Education furthermore implores the Governor of the State of Ohio and the Ohio General Assembly to protect students, school employees, and residents by instead enacting legislation which would, #1, ban the sale of assault-style firearms. 2, raise the minimum age to purchase firearms to 21. 3, ban high-capacity magazines and bump stocks. 4, require universal background checks which include relevant mental health information and previous interactions with the law. 5, create red flag laws to allow police, family members, coworkers, and others to petition a state court to order the temporary removal of firearms from a person who may pose a danger to others or to themselves. 6, create a complete universal database of those banned from purchasing firearms. 7, close the private sale and gun show loophole which waives the necessity of background checks. And 8, provide funding, including funding for schools, for enhanced mental health services and substance abuse treatment so that all individuals, including children, have sufficient access to these services. Now, I want to thank Dan Heinz because he wrote the resolution 4 years ago, which I basically pirated most of for this, and I open up for discussion.
Molly, just for the record, I'm assuming that you did speak with 795?
Oh, yes, Karen Rigo and
I'm
I have
sure.
had several conversations today.
Sure. I really support this. I have real problems with House Bill 99. One of the things that it has occurred to me is that in passing House Bill 99, the Ohio legislature is, it's sort of a bait and switch. People are looking to them to help solve the problem of gun violence in America. And what it seems to me that they're actually doing is they're shifting responsibility for the safety of for the safety of Ohioans, and they're basically washing their hands of it. They're saying we, the legislature, are not responsible for ensuring responsible gun ownership, for ensuring the safety of Ohio's school children, and instead they're trying to make teachers responsible by allowing teachers to be armed in their classrooms. And it's just dirty, because you can just hear the future of when, unfortunately, the next inevitable nightmare happens in America. The question is going to be, well, weren't any of those teachers armed? And there's even a legislator, looking for a word my mother would be proud of me for. There's a legislator in Ohio who has brought forth a bill that will add to the mandatory curriculum for Ohio students to learn defensive measures, basically self-defense measures. So they're even trying to shift the responsibility further away from the legislature, now from teachers to the individual students. And now we can blame the students for not taking responsibility for their own defense. And it's just such a complete dereliction of duty on behalf of the Ohio legislature to refuse to own this problem and to be so beholden to the gun industry that they are willing to turn their backs on the next generation of Ohioans. It's just awful. So thank you for doing this work, Malia. I don't remember this resolution at all from 4 years ago.
It's over 4 years ago. Well, that's, the fact that exactly the same language applies is what made my blood boil today.
I'd like to point out something that I think I said 4 years ago, but there's a RAND study that shows that even highly trained police officers will miss 60 to 70% of their shots in a dynamic situation. We're talking highly trained police officers.
You mean the ones who've taken the full course of OPOTA training?
And
Yeah.
hundreds of hours of training and regular training at the range.
Yeah. But that's
And
the training that they just removed.
yes, I know. And I would like to know why our legislature so devalues our men and women in blue, that they think that you can give anyone the tools of the trade, a gun, and that they can do the job. And that's essentially what they're saying with this, is that they're saying, oh, well, we can give a gun to anyone, a teacher or any staff member, and they can do the job of a law enforcement person. And I think that that is demeaning to our police, and I think it's demeaning to teachers and staff in school buildings. Another thing I'd like to point out is that if you ever take a active shooter training, how to protect yourself in that situation.
Alice training, yeah.
Alice training, the first thing that they will tell you is you have to be aware that the person coming in, the perpetrator, has already made up their mind that they are not going to leave that building alive. That's the first assumption. That's why the training covers, run, hide, fight. And so to think that you're going to have a staff member who is armed and is taken by surprise, because the perpetrator always has the element of surprise, and they're always going to bring in, well, not always, but as we've seen in the vast number, they bring in an AK-47 to arm a staff member with something, you're not going to have them armed with an AK-47.
Right.
And so you've already set up a unfair power balance, and the staff member is not going to be, they're going to be taken by surprise.
Well,
So
their
you-
job is to teach. Their job
Exactly,
is not to
exactly.
be standing at the door waiting for
So-
someone to show up.
How anyone can say that this will make students safer, and then the other thing that I think that we should share this resolution with our local police departments and with our local cities, because even police departments say, when you get into a dynamic situation, if you get in there and there's multiple people with weapons, you don't know who the perpetrator is, and it causes confusion, and it can actually create a worse situation. So I think that you've hit all the key points in this resolution. Thank you for dusting it off and revising it. But this is a situation that I feel really, really strongly about, and I think that anybody who thinks that this is going to make schools safer, they're not looking at all of the facts.
Yeah. But, these are the same teachers who cannot be trusted to
Pick out
choose
books.
appropriate curriculum and books for their students, That will be another, we just did that one, didn't we? Goodness, okay.
So disheartening.
It is.
Well, Malia, thanks for doing this. We've all been talking amongst ourselves about how we're seeing this influx of crazy legislation come through Columbus that is not in the best interest of students and student achievement. Common sense gun laws. Other countries have them. They don't have these kinds of problems. Those are the case studies we should be looking at, as opposed to looking at what the gun lobby and politicians who have to support gun rights feel like that they need to vote yes for in order to get reelected. How many dead students and staff members are there going to have to be before they reverse course?
I have no idea.
These ones are not. We need to vote them out.
That's it.
We need to vote in people who have a conscience, because none of these people do.
So I had a conversation today with other local school board presidents about the value of putting our voices together, or at least our names together on paper, in order to try to get a little bit more clout or a little bit more reception to our resolutions. And I will, assuming we vote to pass this, I will add it to a little library we're creating so that other school districts can look at our language and use it as a jumping off point for themselves.
And I do think it's really, really important that we also share this with our cities and see if we can get our law enforcement to join.
Yeah.
Or the, police unions or whatever.
Well, I can make sure that it's forwarded to the right people.
That would be excellent.
Well, I can't stop thinking about our trade association, the Ohio School Board Association, and how they're namely silent in a lot of these
Yes.
things. And it's frustrating, and we know it's politics, okay? You're going to have red states, you're going to have blue states. You're going to have school board associations in states that are going to support more legislation like this. And they're not, again, they're not doing it in the interest of protecting kids. The whole concealed carry concept about, let's just throw the training out the window. That makes no sense to me.
It's like solving the opioid crisis by removing the requirement for a prescription.
That's a good analogy.
Great analogy.
Yeah, as I've said again, these legislatures are, making these dangerous decisions for our students in our community, and they're not doing their job. So if you're not doing your job, they need to be removed. And what we need to look at is make sure we vote and vote them out, period.
Yeah. Does this mean we could weigh in on the gerrymandering and pass a
Oh, well,
resolution about that,
We could, but you could see how far the Supreme Court of Ohio got with that, so. Okay, anything else? Then, Mr. Gaynor, will you call the roll,
Need a
please?
motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a set.
I motion that we consider the resolution in opposition to HB 99 that Malia authored for us.
I'll second it.
Now, Mr. Gaynor.
Mr. Wright,
Yes.
Mr. Posh,
Yes.
Mr. Hines,
Yes.
Ms. Serini,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.